Good morning, and welcome to this brief presentation all about the Student Activities Assistance Fund at Northwestern. My name is Joe Littell, Associate Director with Student Organizations and Activities. There's lots of information about the SAAF on the SOA website. A few things to know about the background. For over a decade, the SAAF has been a donor-supported fund that operates on an annual budget. I'll share a bit more about how we optimize this budget to support as many eligible activities as possible. It is limited to undergraduate students. If you are watching this video and you are a graduate student or have another affiliation with Northwestern, you won't be eligible to receive SAAF funding. It's also limited to being a full participant in a registered student organization, competitive sport, or fraternity or sorority chapter under the 4 social councils. What would be some reasons to apply to the SAAF? Organizations and chapters receive revenues and funding from all sorts of different sources, but some activities don't get enough to cover the full costs necessary for their members to be full participants. This is where the SAAF can come in. Some common expenses include pre-professional or academic conferences or competitions, and the fees that go with traveling to and from or registering for these events. Some organizations impose dues on their members to also cover costs. Those costs could go towards coaches' fees, equipment fees, rental fees, and other items specific to the activity and should be reviewed by the advisor. Specifically in the performing arts area, organizations receive funding to put on performances. However, individual performances might be responsible for covering their own costume, accessories, or similar expenses for their participation. Whether it's for competition or volunteering or mentoring opportunity that takes you off campus, in-city rideshare or public transit reimbursement is also possible. And lastly, it's not necessarily a priority of the fund, but we do recognize the value of social and exec outings to welcome folks to the board or welcome folks to the organization. And any of these activities that are required of their members may also be eligible for SAAF reimbursement. Requests that we often see that are never eligible include food while traveling or any expense that isn't required for someone to be a full participant. At the time of this recording, I understand that campus machines may have the full Adobe Creative Cloud on them. And while that's a nice resource, students often request to have a Adobe or other software subscription on their own device so they can do it on the go. Unfortunately, since the university already provides this service through a negotiated license, this is not a priority since it also tends to be a really expensive expense and stays with the individual rather than the group. Similarly, students often explore lots of opportunities for conferences that can supplement their experience and their learning and may have a connection to their organization and involvement. But unless the conference is directly sponsored by the organization that you're involved in, it likely won't be a priority for SAAF. Similarly, organizations that might not get enough money from ASG to do exactly what they're planning might suggest that an individual request funding to cover lighting rentals or other AV needs for an event. Realistically, there's lots of other avenues for groups to seek out these funds, and requests for an individual to get reimbursed for these things is also not eligible. And the final category deals with financial aid packages, and those are cost of attendance fees. The SAAF operates independently of any sort of financial aid package and needs to function as a reimbursement because otherwise it could be classified as income to the student. We'll go more into the process of this, but in some cases, being a member of a fraternity or sorority, students will request their meal plan or rent or other cost of attendance line items, which are not eligible for SAAF. To maximize the amount of opportunities that the program supports, The SAAF operates on application cycles. All the information gets updated on the SOA website in the SAAF tab. This past year, we operated 4 cycles in the fall, 3 in the winter, and 1 in the spring. Each cycle has a slice of the annual budget. The idea behind it is that if there's a student who has no expenses until spring quarter, as SAAF financial managers, we don't want that fund to be completely dry before they even have an occasion to apply. At the same time, we have over a decade of history of when students request this type of funding related to when dues are due or other performances throughout the calendar. So we're able to operate in a place where we have a budget set aside for each cycle. Students can apply once per cycle, and they can include multiple expenses or multiple involvements in their application. That said, students should pay attention to the due date of when they'll be expected to provide proof of payment or a receipt in order to receive their reimbursement. If you have an upcoming deadline for that and your group leaders are telling you everyone's expected to chip in on this expense, or your performance or competition date is coming up and you'll for sure need a specific supply item or other piece of gear by then, use the calendar to determine when the right time is to apply. Lastly, we recognize sometimes people miss the deadline and they may apply for something they already paid for in the fall quarter when the winter cycles open up. Unfortunately, the demand for SAAF requests often is greater than the budget that we have available. This means that each cycle, we fully allocate all of the funding available, and any that is left over just rolls over into the next cycle. Therefore, requests for past experiences that have already been paid for won't be rewarded. I'll share a chart in just a moment to outline this for you, but the typical request timeline starts with you completing a general questionnaire each year on Northwestern OneForm. The idea behind this is that there may be other opportunities posted on the OneForm that we encourage you to explore, and you don't need to answer the same basic personal information repeatedly. That is the first step. Once you complete that, you'll unlock the screen that shows the different opportunities you're eligible to apply for. The SAAF opportunity will appear and have a summary screen to familiarize you with what questions will be on it, but you are expected to click the button when the application cycle opens and answer the prompts in the form itself. We won't be able to accept any requests for SAAF that come by email, even if they are responses to prompts that are in the SAAF opportunity on OneForm. Once you submit your general questionnaire and the opportunity questions for the appropriate cycle, we post on our website when we expect to send all offers or rejections out for that cycle. You'll receive an email notification that not only includes any amount that you are eligible to receive, but it will also include instructions on next steps, as well as how to set up direct deposit with your Caesar account. So you must accept the offer and upload proof of payment or receipt in what's called the post-acceptance questionnaire. That's the only item in the questionnaire. In some cases, if you have a lot of different receipts, it's appropriate to include a document as part of the upload explaining different things. And note that if the total of your expenses comes in under the offer that you were awarded for whatever reason, the amount that you receive will be adjusted to that amount that you provide us. Once you submit that, a reviewer from SAAF will take a look at the proof of payment, make sure it matches what you apply for, update a spreadsheet that Student Accounts has access to, and then Student Accounts will deposit the money into your Caesar. From there, you can move any money in your Caesar into your direct deposit account that you set up. So let's review the cycle. The first step is learning about the costs associated with an activity, whether it's a conference registration fee or looking up general costs for flights or other transportation to get to a destination, or looking up products that you might be purchasing online and providing an estimate of what that expense is. Step 2, fill out that general questionnaire as well as the SAAF specific questions, and you'll include the details of those expenses. You'll have an opportunity to upload a file or just provide a text-based summary. 3, you'll receive an offer or a reply with a specific amount that you're eligible to receive. Once you receive that, go ahead and pay the expense, and you must provide proof of payment or receipt in order to be reimbursed. Once you have that, upload it into OneForm in the post-acceptance form. And once we review it, we will deposit the reimbursement into the student CSER account. All in all, it's a pretty smooth system considering that we have over 1,000 requests every year. Each year, the rules regarding maximum a student can receive per year may change to try and support as many opportunities as possible. Some factors that go into the amount really come down to these two most common items. One, the OneForm incorporates financial aid data provided by the Northwestern Financial Aid Office. In this way, we're able to offer reimbursement support on a sliding scale. In other words, students with the highest financial need, according to financial aid, will receive more than students with moderate need. If there's been a recent life change and your financial aid record suggests that you actually have no financial need, that's what we use to reject or make a $0 offer. You may contact financial aid directly to see if there's additional information to add to your record or a recent life change that may change your financial needs score. The second item is how relevant the item is for the activity. So for example, anything that's dues or absolutely required to be a full participant in an organization is at one end of the spectrum. Any sort of activity-specific gear or apparel or accessory also tends to be at that end. Anything that might just be a personal item that is beneficial to have for an activity may be closer to the middle. To wrap up, RSO leadership should also look at additional funding in the Officers tab and the funding section of the SOA website. There's lots of information about grants and other programs that can help close the gap for a student org's budget. Similarly, fraternity and sorority chapter and council leadership can connect with the FSL staff here in Campus Life regarding other financial supports. That's it for the SAF. Thanks so much for watching.